Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's had a great conference day. I hope you guys still have the stamina to listen to some more innovative and brilliant ideas from my amazing panelists here. One gentleman is late, but hopefully he'll be joining us swiftly. So I'll get right into it. I'm Saif. I'm your moderator. I'm your host with the most, though it's really difficult to follow Alexandra, of course. And I really do wish that I could get past my former title, but alas. This is how it is. I'll quickly introduce my panelists. Hamza Jawaid here is the co-founder of Bazaar Technologies, the leading B2B e-commerce firm in Pakistan, digitizing informal trade across multiple sectors. And we have Ms. Naureen Hyat, co-founder of, CEO of ZoodPay Pakistan. Please give it up for Naureen as well. Naureen is a trailblazer in the fintech space of Pakistan. Mr. Mutaher Khan here is the co-founder of Darbar and also a tech journalist, one of the loudest and brightest voices in the tech ecosystem. And of course, Moazzam Khan is the co-founder of SnappRetail, also digitizing small retailers as well. So it was, I think the idea we were just discussing behind the scenes as well, we want to quickly go around and give some context on what exactly each of you has been, contributing in terms of digitizing this landscape of small, MSMEs and retailers, and how that contributes to the overall retail economy at large. So I'll just pass this mic around. Let's start with Hamza, and let's hear it from the horse's mouth in terms of what all Bazaar has achieved till date.
Thank you, Saif. Pleasure to be here. So Bazaar is essentially a B2B e-commerce engine. What we do is we buy goods from businesses and we sell to businesses through an online channel. Those businesses can be a small retailer, like a Kiryana. It can be a supermarket. It can be a restaurant. It can be an office, or it can be an industrial entity. And we cover a wide spectrum of goods between a chawal or dairy to all the way from caustic soda in raw material, or a stationery or printer for an office. And the idea is that, traditionally in Pakistan, B2B e-commerce has been the largest chunk of retail or wholesale trade. I think generally e-commerce or modern trade has not gained that big a share than usually like developed markets. And so B2B e-commerce traditionally has been offline. Bazaar started 3 years ago. Over the years, we've raised over $100 million to digitize this entire trade in Pakistan. Our major business is retail driven. So we are available from Karachi to Khyber with a simple Android application that any Kiryana or a retailer can just log on and connect with every single FMCG company, or buy staples or edible oil and ghee or stationery on the app, and we deliver the goods the next day. And to enable all of that, we provide digital-enabled credit, we provide payment services. Until date, we are serving about 150,000 retailers across the length and breadth of the country. And we're seeing this usage increase every single day with increased digitization and belief coming in with going to market with this product day in, day out. And the idea is to provide a high measure of convenience and value to any business that wants to buy goods. So take out all of the inefficiencies that come from buying goods offline. So if you're a small retailer, I don't have to go to a Jodia Bazaar or Akbari Mandi to a wholesaler to buy, and I don't have to pay for expensive fuel or spend so much time, nor do I have to wait for an order booker of a retail company to come in, and I am then, मैं उसके रेमो करम पे हूँ कि हर हफ्ते एक बंदा आएगा या हर 2 हफ्तों में एक बंदा आएगा, and I'm only able to deliver my goods that day. Now, when you wake up for Fajr, you can place an order. When you get done from Maghrib, you come onto the app and you see what is not available on your shelf, and you start ordering that. I was on a market visit yesterday, and I asked him, why do you use the Bazaar app so much? And he said, and that I think encapsulates what we're trying to do. That retailer said, मेरे इस app में मेरे हाथ के अंदर 50 order booker है. And so that is the simplification of the kind of flexibility and empowerment a small retailer that is usually neglected in Pakistan is now able to gain, and is able to very flexibly run and manage his business through technology. And that's essentially what we do.
Yeah, so, what Bazaar is building actually, in a way, complements the kind of work that we are trying to do. So Zood is technically, it's a digital lending platform for e-commerce. And what we're building here is it's a holistic ecosystem serving the online merchant or the SME at the center. And we're trying to serve both the demand and the supply for the online merchant or the SME here. So what Zood is actually, it's based out of Central Asia and MENA, and before coming to Pakistan, Zood has already built a consumer base of over 10 million users in countries like Uzbekistan, Lebanon, Jordan, Iraq, Kazakhstan. And Pakistan, on one side, the entire population, and then all the other countries on one side, that's the kind of potential that Zood brings in. Now, what the ecosystem here is doing, it's built on 3 pillars. The first one being e-commerce, where we have our own marketplace. And this marketplace is not technically like a Daraz. It looks like a Daraz, but it's not, because everything that you get on this platform, you can buy it in installments. So what we're trying to do is propel the demand side of the SME by serving flexible payment options to their consumers. The other thing that we're doing is we are providing e-logistics. It's an asset-light model whereby we provide the tech, and all our partners within the logistics ecosystem can come and plug in, which means last-mile providers, fulfillment, warehousing, order management, the entire omni-channel approach. We're allowing our tech layer to club that in. Now, both these e-commerce and e-logistics are not they're not operating in silos independently. They've actually been built in to provide us complete control over the main pillar, which is lending, or financial services per se. And what we do here is, when we have the ability to analyze data on our marketplace and see how that complete loop is coming together, we have better insights on how we can lend. So we lend against the risk on the customer, but also on the risk against the product. And what we then do is that we're also then serving the supply side of the SME, where we intend to launch SME inventory financing for them. So, bridging that entire gap. And what we've seen, in Pakistan, COD, again, on the payment side, it's a huge challenge, both on the issuing
COD is cash on delivery. Yeah.
Cash on delivery. So we're actually, eradicating that entire wing. We don't take cash on delivery. It's all either in installments or, payments. So there's a lot with, serving the payments and the credit challenges here, and then, a lot more in terms of how we are digitizing this environment.
Naureen, I'm gonna stop you there. I'm really sorry, because there's so many voices on the panel. So in my previous office, we used to do this thing. When someone would arrive late, we would give them the loudest, most raucous applause. So please give it up for Mr. Raza Matin, our very final and late, really loud. We have to make him feel how late. It's not his fault. It's not his fault, because I thought the schedule was running late, and then I told him it's okay. Raza Matin is the co-founder of Chikoo. He's also digitizing small retailers by helping them set up their online shop in a matter of minutes. He's also a payments wizard, and he works with the UN's Better Than Cash Alliance. So I want to switch over to Raza, get that angle as well. So Raza, the context here is, we know there's a lot of traditional industry operators in the audience. We're just trying to contextualize what exactly we're all achieving in digitizing the traditional informal retail landscape. So what do you, from your lens?
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for the applause. Much appreciated. I think everyone in this room probably comes from organizations that are quite formal in nature, or formalized, right? So you would have known or seen that in the last 20 to 30 years in your own organizations and industries, you would have seen this wave of digitization happen that's affecting the way you render your services, deliver your products, manage your own internal operations, communications, all of that. And all of that has hopefully driven your businesses or organizations to be much more efficient, much more productive, and hopefully much more profitable. What we're doing at Chikoo, and what we're trying to do, is make sure that businesses that are slightly less mature, businesses that do not have IT departments or consultants, or businesses that do not necessarily have the internal capacity or capability to bring a lot of these digital improvements in the way they do business, are able to do so in a way that's accessible. And for us, our hypothesis is that all businesses, regardless of their capability or capacity or maturity or investment ability, all harbor the same aspiration, which is to grow, which is to be more profitable, be more productive. So whether that's the small kiryana, whether it's the plumber, or whether it's a business that's much larger, what we're trying to do is make sure that we democratize the access to that technology so that a lot of these smaller businesses can also harness the benefits, but also the promise of what digital brings. What we're making, in many ways, what we're trying to do is level the playing field, but more importantly, make sure that we don't create yet another digital divide in our economy between the haves and have-nots, in this case, the haves of digital and the ones that are still operating without those tools. Now, in Pakistan, we're seeing a lot happen in that space. Because so many of our entities and sectors are far behind in adopting digital, so the ceiling and opportunity is very, very large. And us, including other sort of startups and sort of fintechs, are all looking to address this problem by somehow repackaging technology in a way that is easier to use for your typical small merchants. And that's what we're doing at Chikoo. I know that's what you're doing at SnappRetail as well.
Raza, I'm gonna intervene there because we're short on time. That's actually a perfect segue into what Moazzam is doing, and I'd love like a quick 1-minute explainer on that as well.
I'll keep it quick. So at SnappRetail, Assalamu alaikum everybody. At SnappRetail, we're trying to digitize traditional retail or Kiryana retail. We put in, for visual clarity, we take a hardware unit with our Android system in it. So it's a point of sale invoicing device with a barcode reader and a printer. We put it into the store, and when the store comes onto our platform, their end-to-end operations are digitized. So that means just like you would go to Imtiaz or Chase Up and you'd get a pakki receipt for whatever you buy, you go into one of our stores, they'll scan the products, they'll give you a pakki receipt, they'll take a credit card, debit card from you. At the back end, the system completely automates their inventory management, talks to them about their stock position, reordering, connects with players like Bazaar or with traditional distributors or marketplaces, and they can order stock, then their credit management, inventory management. Then we give them a host of digital inventory products like mobile data. They can sell mobile data, bill payments, etc., etc. So, fundamentally, we put in the digital rails. All these products that I talked to you about, these come through partnerships. We don't do any one of these products. All of this comes through other players. They use our rails, and then our monetization is a pay per transaction monetization. Now, at the other end of this, of course, as a consequence, we are creating the largest retail sales data lake in the country. And then, of course, we go to FMCG players and we sell subscriptions of this data lake. And we go to fintech players who want to lend, and we give them this data about the store's revenue, quality of their revenue, recurring of their revenue, and hopefully they can do better credit ratings and have lower NPL. So that's basically the ecosystem.
Awesome. So if I may go to Mutaher now. Mutaher, you as a journalist and of course running data at Darbar, you're analyzing data from various industry sources, and you're well aware of what everyone here is doing and what value they're adding. Like for example, every one of them has mentioned SME lending or invoice financing in some way or the other. What is the way forward? Are all of these models going to converge? Are they going to consolidate? Is financing really the biggest challenge to solve? What do you think is we need to see more of, or where we're going to be in a year or 2 years from now?
So I mean, financing is a big challenge, and obviously Pakistan stands at the bottom end practically of among all peer markets. I mean, we had SME financing of 500 billion odd, and all of these players have come in and filled them. I mean, still there's no quantum available of the extent.
100 billion to Bazaar kar raha hai.
But I'm talking about banking and NBFIs.
Yeah.
So Bazaar is not an NBFI.
Will be soon,
and I'm talking about
inshallah.
outstanding. So there's a difference between disbursement and outstanding.
Okay, don't get technical on me.
but I mean, Pakistan के अंदर generally बहुत बड़ा gap है when it comes to SME financing, and I mean, I'm talking about not just compared to the global average, but even compared to South Asian average. I mean, hardly 10% of SMEs have ever, less than 10% of SMEs have ever received the financing. And that's where the problem lies. And unfortunately, I mean, the way forward is that banks have to come in, right? And this is whether banks go and directly tap onto the retailer or the small enterprise, that's up to them. But eventually, because banks have the cost of funds advantage. No one else does. If you go out and Bazaar goes out to either lend, it will be either on equity or on debt, which will be again Kaibor plus 3 or something. Banks will be doing on effectively 0 or like 5-7% at max. And that's the way forward. And at the moment, I think जो किस्त पे में investment हुई है, Alfala ने invest किया है, and that's the way forward. And I think we have seen HBL doing some lines, credit lines as well for a couple of startups. So that is essentially the way forward. Players like Bazaar, players like ZootPay have access to the market in a much better sense, and they are going far deeper than banks will ever be able to or willing to go. And I think that is the way forward for me, that banks partner up with these organizations who have some boots on the ground, who have access to far more, not just far more quantum of data, but a willingness to analyze that data as well. And I think banks do have a lot of data. It's just that we haven't seen any appetite to actually see what trends are there.
Why?
And I think that's,
Why?
I think it's just, for lack of a better word, it's laziness. And there are a lot of, no, from bank side. From bank side, right? So there are, I've seen, there are multiple areas I've requested certain data points. A lot of things are not even recorded. Even something as basic as which language does the user choose when you go to the ATM? And that could help address in building, that could help guide your product कि आपको उर्दू में बनाना है, इंग्लिश में बनाना है, वो अभी कोई रिकॉर्ड ही नहीं कर रहा होता है. And this is data for 20 years, right? No one has that. Not the banks, not the aggregators, not the technology providers. No one has that. So how do you go out? Banks, despite having, in theory, that access to that data, they haven't analyzed it. So.
No, I mean, this is very much on topic, and I want to come to Hamza now, because I understand what you're saying, and you're echoing the point that the capital crunch is, in your view, the biggest issue, right? And I think Naureen will probably agree with you. The ZootPay model, I think what they're betting on is that there's a capital crunch on both demand and supply fronts, which is why she mentioned the SME inventory financing. But I want to hear from Hamza on this. Is it, do you think the priority is to provide them access to supply? Access to goods in a one-stop shop is the priority, again, SME financing, to solve this problem of almost 2 million retailers that are not digital, that are offline, and to bring them more efficiency and seamlessness. Do we have that mic?
I think the problem starts with getting your go-to-market right. It's about getting the user or the SME or the retailer on a digital platform that is useful for them. And that's sort of the gateway, right? आपको पहले उनकी कोई प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करनी है, उसकी प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करके अगर वो डिजिटाइज हो जाते हैं, उसके बेसिस पे आप फिर पेमेंट्स, क्रेडिट, लेंडिंग, एडवर्टाइजमेंट्स, वैल्यू एडेड सर्विसेज ऐड कर सकते हैं. So our journey has been very, very simple. We said, look, the retailer spends most of their time, capital and effort on buying goods. सारा वक्त लगता है चीज़ें खरीदने में और फिर टाइम वक्त है बिकने में, और बिक तो जाती है स्टोर फ्रंट पे, लेकिन ख़रीदने के लिए सारी मेहनत करनी पड़ती है. उस ख़रीदने को अगर हम सिंप्लीफाई कर सकेंगे डिजिटाइजेशन के थ्रू, देन यू ओपन अप डोर्स टू एवरी सिंगल थिंग दैट कम्स नेक्स्ट. सो वी फॉर एग्जांपल हैव सीन when a retailer starts ordering with us, we have our own credit scoring algorithms that do the credit scoring for them, and then we open up the credit KYC or credit application for that retailer. We see that once the person believes that digital application can solve a large problem for us, they immediately come to the credit solution. And once they come to the credit solution, we see their businesses shoot up. Their NPLs are less than 0.2% because they really depend on this credit and digital application for their business. Their recovery is awesome. You can charge a good fee on that. And we see the uptick in their business. And we see retention. अगर हमारा Bazaar की application पे credit enabled है किसी retailer पे, we're seeing over 98% retention on a 12-month basis. What means is कि वो एक साल में सिर्फ 2% retailer किसी वजह से छोड़ के चले जाते हैं. जब आपने credit relationship किसी के साथ बना लिया, they don't leave. And they continue to increase their business and you continue to enhance their limits. So there is a lot of juice in the market, but I think we're talking about why do current entities don't do it is because risk aversion. They don't have enough data, nor they have recourse कि recovery कैसे होगी. But we are building that. We're building those rails. So if anybody wants to partner and say, look, we don't know enough about this segment, but somebody who knows about this segment, come and we'll partner up with us because we're seeing it working like beauty.
No, makes sense. So you're providing the rails for trade, and then Moazzam is providing a lot of the data in terms of what actually is moving at the point of sale level. I want to change tack here, and let's start with you, Naureen. In terms of, there's a lot of operators in the audience that are from traditional and legacy industries, and what more would you want from them in terms of collaboration, whether it's large retail companies, whether it's banks, where do you think that gap lies today that would help this entire B2B value chain scale to the next level?
See, Mutaher and Hamza actually touched some very important points. What we're missing right now is a complete ecosystem play. All of us are working in our own silos, and trying to achieve whatever we can with the limited capacities we have. But the challenge right now is that if we are really to make actual, measurable, sustainable impact, it has to be done in a manner where everyone is actually aligned and working in sync. So, for example, I'll touch upon some numbers, and these are important numbers. I think I'll just give you a global perspective. Online sales. Forbes actually there's a forecast that this year, online sales which will reach $6.3 trillion. Wow. And to put that in perspective, if online sales were a country, its GDP would be second or third only to the United States and China. Pakistan ranks 46th in terms of B2B overall, right, and in terms of the sales that are happening. Now, what are we lacking here? So there are different elements of the ecosystem. One, of course, we spoke about an enabling ecosystem where you can digitize. Digital transformation right now is just big. Digital transformation is not happening. The digital rails are just being laid right now. Transformation will start happening when, there will be more use cases that are being provided in conjunction. So, for example, if you want stickiness, it's not only going to be, something like, an end-to-end digitization software. It's also, what Hamza is talking about, SME credit being built in. Yeah. Now, we know we on our own, do not have the kind of capacity or financial muscle that a bank would. You need a balance sheet. You need a big balance sheet, primarily for the SME lending, the 3 to 5 million SMEs out there. This is an $18 to $20 billion, even only digital credit market, yeah, for SMEs. Yeah. We can't, or even, singular players cannot do that. Yeah. Now, what we're trying to, this is something that we're trying to work on, and we every now and then we allude to what India is doing, but those are examples that we should be learning from. They've worked on building an entire e-commerce repository, where data is being fed in by players, whether it's e-commerce players or it's e-commerce stores or it's lenders. Everyone is reporting data into that. Sure. So when anyone has to provide services, whether it's an e-commerce service or it's a lending service, you actually have insights into what kind of customer or what kind of merchant to actually lend to or otherwise do business, yep, with. So this is one part. The other is RAS right now, for example. This is a great rail that's being laid. We've only reached P2P and P2M right now. Yes. There are talks about request to pay RTP. Yep. Yep. And earlier on, someone was mentioning about how credit can ride on those rails, like UPI, like on UPI. Mm-hmm. So I think we initiated some conversations very early on with the State Bank to see how credit players can actually bring in multi-bank technology layers, and you can actually build an ecosystem where merchants, where banks, which are the funders, and where tech players can actually come in together, and they can actually bridge this entire ecosystem together. So it's going to be multiple players that'll have to work in conjunction to get this.
Let's get Moazzam's take on this. What's going to be that unifier, right? जो ये सारी individual जो levers हैं इन सबको एक साथ लेके आता है to move B2B forward and to get all of these informal retailers online.
देखिए, what we will see in our space is very much what you see in the traditional space. Traditional space has built over, आप कह सकते हैं 70 साल 80 साल जब से मुल्क बना है, रिटेल बन रही है, बैंक्स बन रहे हैं, फाइनेंशियल सेक्टर, हर एक ने अपनी एक पोजीशन ली और उसके मुताबिक कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री तरीके से एक इकोसिस्टम में वर्क करना शुरू कर दिया. आप इम्तियाज़ को देख लें तो अब वो बैंकिंग तो नहीं करता ना, वो अपना करता है, बैंक्स को साथ लेता है, सप्लायर्स को लेता है. हम लोगों ने बहुत जल्दी स्केल अप किया है So that's why हमारे ecosystem में हमारे roles identify होना और clear होना और settle होने में भी
That's a great
थोड़ा
point.
time लगेगा. And my personal feel is that, and we don't need to look into the future, we just need to look across the border and we'll see कि Latin America में all our players are there in Latin America and they've taken their respective spaces. Southeast Asia में भी ये हो रहा है. India is slightly ahead of us, not too far ahead of us, but वहाँ पे भी चीज़ें settle down हो रही हैं. So I think it's going to happen. Similarly, we as individual players will find our roles, and it will be a complementary play because there are over 5 million retailers in this country. If you take pharma and fashion, and at least 1.2, 1.5 तो आपके grocery के players हैं. इनकी हैबिट चेंज कोई एक बंदा नहीं ड्राइव कर सकता, कोई एक कंपनी नहीं, सिर्फ मतलब यूनिलीवर भी ड्राइव नहीं कर सकती, टपाल भी ड्राइव नहीं कर सकता, इम्तियाज भी ड्राइव नहीं कर सकता. वो भी सारे मिलके कर रहे हैं, हम भी सारे मिलके करेंगे. आई थिंक एंड देन ऑब्वियसली सिंप्लीफिकेशन होगी. We will merge, we will find our space. But
so that's what I want to actually ask Raza. You're leading into my next question is, Raza, ये convergence कहाँ होगी of what we're doing and what the traditional space is doing, or do you think that won't happen? At some point, do we cross paths?
I mean, to Moazzam's point, I think it's a matter of time, but I think pretty much every business today is a hybrid business, right? I mean, how many businesses are either exclusively offline or online? I think, so that convergence is already happening. I don't think it's so much as a choice as it is inevitability. Who are the agents that will drive this change, benefit from this change? That is yet to be determined, and like Moazzam said, there are a lot of players in the market, and this market's so large that it's going to take the entire village to sort of really solve for this and bring about this thing. And a large element of this is just market education, and market education is just something that no one single entity, no matter how large, they can undertake and try to drive that change themselves. So I'd say we're already on our way, and hopefully soon there.
Along the same lines we were discussing earlier, you had a point? Yeah, go ahead.
One very quickly, I think to Raza's point, the ultimate beneficiary will be Pakistan of this. Because I'll tell you, we will settle in very similar to traditional, but what I see, numbers that Hamza was talking about, Naureen, Mutaher, हमारे इकोसिस्टम में वो सब कुछ होता है जो कि ट्रेडिशनल इकोसिस्टम में होता है, लेकिन जो उधर 10 साल लगते हैं, हम 1 साल में वो स्केल करते हैं. Because of the power of technology and the sort of instantaneousness of technology.
Bilkul agreed that that's happening. And despite that, do you think you're getting the, again, I'm saying that word collaboration again and again, the collaboration or the response you would expect from traditional industry stalwarts, कि अगर आप वाकई में अगर आप वो 10 साल के movement 1 साल में कर रहे हैं, they should be lining up at your door.
So, right? Yeah, so उसका answer मैं ये दे सकता हूँ कि because I've spent 15 years of my career on the traditional side and then I became a founder. नहीं, इस वक्त hesitancy है. We are viewed as either, we don't, के मतलब, you're young kids on the block, इनको अभी पता नहीं business किस तरह होता है, and which is very true, by the way. I can tell you, we are full of mistakes. We are full of mistakes. We are full of pitfalls that we've all fallen into. But there is a lot of resilience there as well. I think that side, the traditional sides, needs to see us prove our business models. Because none of them believe, I can tell you, everybody sitting on that side of the table, they do not believe that anything which is working on a burn model can be sustainable unless there is external funding. So nobody's going to come from there and say कि जी आप पैसे burn कर रहे हैं तो हम आपके साथ जुड़े.
Can you create value? क्या हम ये बात तो discount नहीं कर सकते ना कि Zood पे Bazaar, SnappRetail आज value creation कर रहे हैं.
For sure कर रहे हैं.
बेशक आपकी company profitable नहीं है.
Correct.
उससे आपके partner को तो फर्क नहीं पड़ना चाहिए.
Well, देखिए फर्क इस तरह पड़ता है कि अगर मैं यूनिलीवर को कहता हूँ ना कि जी आपका 20 साल से डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर आप उसके साथ धंधा कर रहे हैं, अब मेरे साथ करें धंधा. वो कहता है ठीक है जी मैं आप पे मूव हो जाता हूँ, कल को अगर आप बंद हो गए तो फिर मेरा तो ये आधा सिंध आधा पंजाब गायब हो गया, राइट? सो दैट इज वेयर
chicken and egg.
No, so that is where the hesitancy.
Yeah,
and we have to
unfortunately, Moazzam, that's our time.
Sorry.
That's our time. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Raza, Moazzam, Mutaher, Naureen, and Hamza. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. Please give it up for them.